news. It looks like Amy Coney Barrett is the one that Donald Trump is going to choose. I had heard last weekend from a source close to the president who had spoken to him, he was leaning in that direction. Now, I should caution that things could still change. Barbara Lagoa very much as well was in the mix, said to be in the mix for a variety of reasons, including the fact that she's in Florida. And that's obviously an important battleground. And let's not forget, these things tend to be a little bit political. Anyway, the president had met with Amy Coney Barrett before. He liked her, and she had indicated, per my source, that she was willing to go through whatever it took, right, with this confirmation process. Because let's face it, you know what they did to Judge Kavanaugh. So what are they going to do to this woman? We'll see. I mean, hopefully they won't be as vicious. She is, after all, a mother of 7. I mean, I can't even imagine. I've got 3, 7. And she's got a demanding career. Her husband has a demanding career, and they have 7 kids. So that is a handful. Anyway, they'll come up with something. I mean, of course, the fact that she's Catholic suddenly is now a problem. Jeff, good to see you again in Bangor, Maine. Good to have you here. Rue, I am giving you the scoop. I mean, per my source, he liked her a lot, and he really felt that there was momentum there. And many, many people, by the way, I should point out, liked her a lot and do like her a lot, and felt like she should have gotten it last time around. And so now the thinking is, you know, she will get it. We'll see. He's supposed to announce this tomorrow evening from the Rose Garden around 5 o'clock. So be on the lookout for that. Good to have you guys here. Darren, good to see you. I've got a big Maine contingency. That's great to see. I'm curious what you all think. You seem to like Judge Amy. I think that a lot of people in the country got to know her as her name was brought up last time around, and so they feel comfortable with her. I'm told that the president himself feels comfortable with her. In other words, he knows what to expect. And listen, the comfort's important right now because we're going into some crazy uncharted territory, I fear. It is critical that we have 9 people on that bench, okay, as we go into this election, because the left has made it very clear. You know, they're trying to blame Donald Trump. I woke up this morning and all the headlines, whether it be the Washington Post or the New York Times, they were all talking about how Donald Trump was basically, you know, thumbing his nose at democracy and insinuating that he would not go for a peaceful transfer of power. Can we not forget what happened a few weeks ago with Hillary Clinton doing exactly that, going on that circus show on Showtime and telling her former communications director that Joe Biden should not concede no matter what? Good to have you all here. Alphonse, great to see you. Yes, you know, they've got a lot at stake. So I agree. They're going to do what they can to try and undermine her. But how are they going to do it? I mean, the Republicans have the votes. And this is the president's duty. Frankly, this is the Senate's duty. And I'm sorry, you know, Mitch McConnell, what happened last time around? Look, Obama didn't have the Senate. And, you know, if he was going to follow the Constitution, Mitch McConnell, that is, he probably should have taken the thing to a vote. And that would have been that, since Obama didn't have the Senate. But the Constitution reads that it has to go forward to a vote. And given that we could be in a situation where, I mean, you saw today, right? Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, they're losing ballots all over the place. They're finding them in ditches off the highway. You had 9 ballots there, all from military members. These are people that are giving up potentially their lives, right? They're risking their lives for their country. And their votes, their ballots are being discarded on the side of the road. This is not appropriate. This is not okay. And so we're going to be in a situation come November. They've already presented this, right? The Bloomberg-backed analytics firm that's telling us, get ready for the red mirage because it's going to look like Donald Trump won, but he didn't really win. I mean, they're trying to condition the public for this. So all the more reason why we need a Supreme Court. Ciao, good to see you. Jeannie, Mike, great to see you as well. John, Lagoa would be a good alternative. I agree with you. I think Lagoa, Barbara Lagoa down in Florida would have been a very interesting choice. I do think, however, given what I've heard from my sources and now the reports that I'm reading tonight, it is going to be Amy Coney Barrett. And a lot of people within the base of the party really like her. And again, I would emphasize that the president feels confident with her. The president trusts her. And that's important right now at a time like this. For all those on the left that are saying, no, he should wait. He shouldn't do this until after the election. And, this should be up to the new president. No, it shouldn't. I'm sorry, but when you elect a president of the United States or you send a senator to Washington, D.C., you're doing so with the full intention, knowing that if someone on the court dies, that person, that president, is expected to appoint a new person, and that the Senate is supposed to confirm or not that new justice. And so, this is just the way the world works. And it's too bad for the left, I guess, that they're not going to get a liberal on the court. But once again, I'm going to get back to why this is so critical right now, and why even if she gets in there, right, it's still critical for everybody to go out and vote, because you know what they're going to try and do? They've already threatened it. And this is just unspeakable. It's unfathomable. I can't believe that they would do this. And yet this is what they're going to try and do. They're going to try and pack the courts. They've already threatened it. And then you're going to wake up one day and you're going to have a Supreme Court. If they were to get their way, that would be like the House of Representatives. It would completely lose all of its meaning. So it's critical she gets there. And then it's critical we have an orderly process, right, to counting these votes. James, it's good to have you. I miss you too, but it's great that we're here together. Thank you for tuning in tonight. Seth, military should set up in-person electronic vote on each base. It's simple, easy, and secure. That's an interesting idea. One other idea that somebody on Facebook actually mentioned to me, which I appreciated, was that we should have a system where we can actually electronically track these things, right? I mean, you're talking about the greatest economy in the world, and we can't find a way to make sure that we're ensuring the safety of our votes. We've got the possibility of ballots being discarded by the side of the road. That is not appropriate any way, shape, or form. Meanwhile, you've got the threat of, well, as I said, them packing the courts. I want to turn to Hunter Biden. Has anybody been following the story? The millions of dollars that Hunter Biden seems to have been collecting over the years, or at least when his father was vice president. This is unbelievable to me. And what's even more unbelievable is when the Biden camp was asked about it, they redirected the question. And they said, really, this is just a diversion from what really matters. And that's that the federal government and the president of the United States has done such a terrible job with coronavirus. Once again, politicizing this virus. Anyway, Joe Biden getting caught up in this whole scandal, if you would. It looks as though $3.5 million was paid to him by the wife of the former mayor of Moscow. And this is, of course, in addition to what he was getting off of Burisma, the natural gas company that he was somehow on the board of. Just exactly why, we're not really sure, because he didn't really have any qualifications to be on that board. But, hey, when your dad is the vice president of the United States and your dad is responsible for Ukraine policy, I guess that counts for something, right? Anyway, not acceptable, not okay. And there are questions that need to be asked. Hopefully they will get asked in the debate next week. I'm going to be watching. I'm going to be reporting for you here live, and we can watch it together, and we can see just exactly how Joe Biden reacts to those questions. I do think that he's preparing. I think that we need to be careful not to set the bar too low for him. I mean, even him. I think he's been working hard. They've been calling a lid on the campaign. That's basically when the campaign says, okay, we're done for the day. Like we're calling it quits. And they've done that repeatedly, like 8 times this month before 12 noon. So, I mean, I'm laughing. I'm like, well, I guess the socialists really know how to live, right? But perhaps he's trying to prepare for the campaign, for the debate. And I think that it's going to be incredibly interesting to watch. I think Chris Wallace really needs to push him on what his plan is for the courts. There's some questions that need to be asked of President Trump in terms of how much money we're spending to try and deal with this whole COVID-19 thing. David, good to have you here. You can over-prepare. I agree. You can over-prepare. I always said that. I'll give you a little insight into my background as a journalist. And at any time I was doing an interview, I found that it was completely a waste. And actually, speaking of being over-prepared, it was completely a waste to script out my questions. So many people in my industry will write down all their questions, every single one that they want to get answered. And consequently, they don't listen. They don't listen to what the answer is. They don't listen to what's being said. They're not reacting in real time. All the time this happens. You know, a lot of anchors actually put their questions right there in the prompter so that they can just go boom, 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 boom. And so they're not listening to what the subject is saying, and consequently, they are over-prepared and not in the right kind of way. So what I've always tried to do is I would bullet things so that, you know, just in case I got distracted because we went down one little tangent, which I always wanted the flexibility and still want the flexibility always to do. Whenever I do an interview, I still want to be able to come back to those bullet points and make sure that I hit this, this, and this, but not tie yourself in, right, to certain questions. I love it when I watch some of these anchors on some of these networks, and the subject answers the question, and then the anchor asks it. And it's like, no. The subject already said that, right? And if you were listening, you would know that. Anyway, really good to have you here. Lisa, a conservative woman. Conservative women do have backbones. You know what? I look at it and I think to myself, life is short, right? And all you've got is yourself and your character, and you have to be true to that, right? You can't be beholden to any big corporate institution or group or say this or say that because somebody wants you to. I figure, you know what? It's just you and me, guys. And it's always been. I've always looked at my reporting in that way, because you have to be authentic and you have to be yourself and you have to be true. And I think that's what you guys all respond to, right? I know that's what I respond to. Just even when I meet somebody in general, you want to be able to relate to them. You want to know that they're real. You want to know that they're honest, and you want to know that they stand for something. I will always listen to all sides. I really will. I'm always willing to listen. And I'm not somebody who looks my nose down at somebody because they have an opinion that's different. I want to try and understand it. I'll stick probably in most cases often with what my gut is, but I'm willing to listen. The problem right now is nobody else is willing to listen, are they? Doug, good to have you here. I do give them fire and brimstone. Sometimes I don't mean to. I really don't. I just, I tell it like it is. And I feel strongly. I feel very strongly about these things. And you're right, Brooklyn girl, what you see is what you get. I mean, I can't do it any other way. I don't really know how to do it any other way. So that's just how it is. And I like it that way. And you know what? I've said this to you guys before. I like the authenticity of this. I like being able to talk to you. You know what I really like is being able to see what you're saying right here on the side of the screen, because that's a very new thing for me. Normally, I'm just talking to the camera and trying to, get through to you in that way. But what's neat here is that you're able to respond. And that's really, hey, technology, right? Preston, good to have you here. Nick, so good to have you here. Jeff, good to see you. Everybody out there in Iowa tonight. This is such an important time. We just have less than 40 days to go, right? So I think that we all need to focus on the issues at hand. I really believe you got to get out there if you can and vote in person. I don't think that, putting a mail-in ballot is the way to go right now. I really want our government, our local governments, to do everything they can to ensure everybody's safety, because, look, this is the system we know. This is the system we trust, in-person voting. And I think there's going to be a lot of mystery surrounding the other stuff. You saw the New York Post article, right, where somebody wrote an editorial, somebody who used to work for the Democratic Party and was a Democratic operative working in New Jersey, New York, and Pennsylvania. And this person talked about how he would influence mail-in ballots to the point where he would actually go door to door. He and his associates, they would get the ballots, they would take them back, they'd steam them open, because apparently you could stuff the ballots, but the envelopes were the critical part. So they'd steam open these envelopes, they'd put the new ballots in, and then they'd send these things off. He also mentioned that there were a lot of people in the Postal Service that you could put on payroll. Hey, so in other words, if you had a Republican neighborhood, you might be able to get that postal worker to take those ballots and toss them out the window. That's scary stuff. That makes us really no different than some of these two-bit emerging market countries around the world that struggle with their voting. Cindy, you agree? Yes. Vote in person if you can, right? I understand some people have limitations, but really it feels like this is the year. This is the year to be out there in front of it all. David, are you? I might do this every night. I've been kind of liking it. It's an important time, and I think that we all need to be thinking about the issues at stake. And I hope you tell your friends. Trish is back. I have a podcast now that I am super proud of, and it is thanks to you guys that we are doing so well and we've been so successful at it. It's called the Trish Regan Intel Show, and you can download it at trishintel.com. That's my website, where we're putting out all these stories. For example, we were one of the first to put out this news about what's happening in Wisconsin with these ballots that they found on the side of the road. And so you'll see all of my opinion there. You can download the podcast. You can get on Spotify, Apple, iTunes, iHeartRadio, but I do encourage you to go to trishintel.com, because I'm there every day writing my opinion pieces, sharing the stories that I'm most interested in. And I can hear directly from you there as well, because there's nothing effectively in the way. You can write to me there on the site and we can talk about the stories. And I like doing that. I think it's the right time to be out there in front. And given the technology we have, we can do this. So it's up to you guys. Keep spreading the word. The podcast is doing great. The website is doing great. Oh, I'll let you in on a little story. So we launched it, right? And we anticipated a certain amount of traffic. Do you know that the first day it kept crashing? The servers were crashing. The whole thing went nuts because we wound up having to increase the server space by 23 times what we anticipated. So thank you. That's all you guys, and that's all your interest in knowing the truth. And I promise you this, I will always deliver the truth as I see it. This is my opinion, free of any of the, what that's out there in the world right now. And I'll always try and be fair as I possibly can be. And I'll always tell you exactly what I think, because I don't really care. I'm pretty fearless. And I don't have anybody standing in the way right now. So that's kind of nice. Anyway, great to see you all. Yes, exactly. Soon the Trish Network. We need the Intel Network with more than just me. We can get a lot of people on there. And this can be a whole new thing because we're all in it together. And I'll tell you, I will not stop looking out for freedom. And I will not stop looking out for you. So thanks so much for tuning in tonight. I encourage you, go get the podcast, please. Trish Intel, it's free. You can listen to it every day there, trishintel.com. And maybe I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good night, everyone.